welcome to Fatema's Art Show. Today I've got another Art Basics episode for you, and it's all about the most commonly used paints out there in art. Now hopefully after today's show you'll get a bit more knowledge on the different types of paints, and they have different finishes, different drying times and lots of different properties, so hopefully today you might have a bit more understanding on what paints you want to use. So let's begin. So these are poster paints. I'm going to start with poster paints because they're the very first paints I've ever used, and the very first paints most of us have used. That's because they are used in schools with kids. They're ideal for kids mainly because they are non-toxic and they are washable. So if they get on the children's clothes, because kids tend to get quite messy, if they get on the kids' clothes, they will wash out fine. So I'm just gonna put some onto a piece of paper to show you how thick they are. They are very watery, not thick at all. You can also get poster paints in a powdered format and a dried format. I'm going to use a brush. Now, you don't need to use a fancy brush. They are very cheap paints to buy, so just use any cheap brush for them. So I'm just going to apply them onto the paper. If applied thinly, you can see they can be quite transparent. Just show you again. Very transparent. Okay. If they're applied thick, what happens is they do take longer to dry. They take about a few hours to dry. I usually like to leave mine overnight. So these are watercolor paints. Watercolor paints come in a range of different formats. You can get them in a palette format where you've got all the colours and you can choose which colours you want to use. You can also buy them in blocks where you can customise your own palette. And you can get them in tubes where you can squeeze out the amount you need with lots of water and use it that way. So make sure you've got lots of water with you, nice clean water. It's best to use watercolor paper. It's nice and thick and it will absorb the watercolors really nicely with the water. So here I'm going to use a synthetics brush. You can use synthetic or natural brushes for watercolor. Use the softest brushes for watercolor because it will glide the water nicely on the page. So I'm just going to dip my brush into the watercolor. So I've dipped into the watercolor colors and I'm applying it onto the page. And you can see the effect you get. You get a nice watery, see-through, transparent effect onto the page. You can see they blend really nicely together. If you want it to be slightly more thicker, just use more of the watercolor and you'll get a slightly more bolder look. Next, it's acrylic paints. Acrylic paints are quite thick and they have a nice glossy finish. As you can see, they dry like plastic. When you apply them onto the page, see they're quite thick. I absolutely love using them because they have quick drying time. It allows the artist to work on top of them really quickly. So you can see you can create some really nice texture with the brush strokes. You can use a natural or synthetic head brush for acrylics. It really doesn't matter. So you can see it's nice and shiny. So the final paints I'm going to show you are these oil paints. Oil paints are made out of colour pigments and oils. They usually come in these nice little tubes, and they're very thick, as you can see. You can dilute it with paint thinner like white spirit. So I'm just going to show you. The great thing about oils is that they take a long time to dry, and this allows the artist to work on top of the piece, so it can take weeks to dry, and it allows the artist a bit more flexibility. They will stain your clothes, so make sure you wear an apron when using them. I'm using here a brush with some strong bristles. That's because it holds the paint much better than if you use one with soft bristles. So I'm just going to apply some more paint on the top just to show you how the colours blend. Use some blue. You see? So hopefully that's given you a bit of insight on the different types of paints out there. So just experiment with those paints, and hopefully you'll find the paint that you feel most comfortable using, or the one that's best suited for your style. If you have any questions on any of the paints I've shown you in today's episode, please feel free to email me or write it in the comment section below. So thank you very much for watching my episode, and please subscribe if you haven't already.